Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick, and today, guys, we're going to be jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at what's been going on most recently with that price action, what I think is likely to happen next, and of course, that weekly close position on this Sunday. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe? You can always unsubscribe later. And if you haven't joined us in Discord, what are you waiting for? Check it out. Link is in the description below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out? Let's kick things off though with the 1 hour time frame here for Bitcoin. So this is BTC paired up with USDT, and we're using the 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 spot exchange. As you can kind of see, our minimum expectations on our Z wave have been completed. We tapped into this box here a couple of times between $28,011 to $28,870, and so we can still, of course, push up a little bit higher if we needed to. We're finding brief support here on our time frame, just on the 50 EMA, as you can kind of see right there. And this is also equilibrium. Okay, so this seems to be a good area of support. If we've got a chance to do it, it's going to be today, where we find this as a good support level and a good area to bounce from. So of course, if we were to try to maybe go long on the positions here, we'd probably use market as a pretty good place right now at the point of recording this video. I put my stop loss probably below the previous swing low, which would be over here, approximately 27,781, and I would be targeting out a double top situation up there as well. Risk reward ratio would be 3.15, so good risk reward ratio. Otherwise, I would probably just sit this one out if there wasn't anything else to kind of go by here on BTC. Now, my expectation is that there's going to be a volatility today. Essentially, on a Sunday, we usually see this. The bulls and the bears are fighting it out for the weekly close position, which we'll talk about when we get to the weekly chart. So I would expect some good gains to be made from trading if we wanted to trade on the second half of today. Ultimately, though, 50 EMA is looking like good support. We've got momentum that can shift us upwards. So yeah, I think that's probably the only play here on the hourly chart at the moment. Now, from an Elliott Wave theory point of view, we could see a fantastic break up to the higher range here. However, I'm looking at it and thinking actually we've probably already completed, which is why a double top situation at the 28,266 is going to be the safer play. I'm not thinking there's terribly many reasons why we should push above that. It's possible, of course, but for now, I'm going to be a little bit more conservative on this one overall. Okay, so just note that we're up in that higher range. We are looking for corrections to the downside, so going long is kind of going against what Elliott Wave theory is suggesting to us here at this point in time. Take this out into the daily time frame, and you can see why. Elliott Wave theory is still looking at this as a 5-wave impulsive drop trend to the downside. Now, this move to the downside, the only way that it gets broken is if price goes up higher than 28,588. This is yet to happen. So essentially here we are still in this bearish structure. We want to kind of break out of the bearish structure to a point. However, until the price goes up higher than 28,588, we have to expect further downside. And the target range for this is 22,477 to 23,787. So we know that unless, of course, we can invalidate the structure by going higher than 28,588, we need that breakout. Unfortunately, we have a fair amount of downward pressure. We can obviously see that our daily stochastic RSI is high as well. Not yet overbought, but is still in an incredibly high position, and we can look for a momentum shift to the downside. Essentially, not a lot of buying activity. This is also something that we can see from the volume side of things as well. As price has been moving up, volumes are very, very low. In fact, if I zoom out far enough, guys, you can see how the volumes in 2022 and 2023 are very, very insignificant in comparison to where they were back in 2020 and 2021. All right, it's hard to think that we're in a bullish market when there isn't really any significant volume going through on BTC. Okay, so it's important that we talk about this. I talk about it quite a bit, and obviously we have our data portal that also looks at these things as well quite a bit, and obviously if you're a member, you'll have access to that as well, and you'll be able to kind of see what's going on. Now, for the most part, Here, we do expect further downside at the moment. There is no reason to think otherwise, unless, of course, we get that breakout situation occur, which is possible, of course. But again, we're just not seeing the reasons and the rationale behind it. Of course, we could be liquidity grabs and things like that. Ultimately, I don't mind whether we complete this pattern for the 5-wave move down, or whether or not we just have this as a 3-wave correction and we correct up and correct down again later. Ultimately, there's no trend in either direction under those scenarios. The only trend to be seen here is this existing one here, to the downside. Now, as we kind of come back up into the weekly, this is really where the meat of today's video is going to sit, because essentially today is Sunday. It's going to be the weekly closed position, and the bulls and the bears are fighting out for weekly closed positions to basically sit in favor of them for the following week. Now, as you can kind of see, last week we did see the bullish movement to the upside and the close above the 50 EMA. Okay, now the bulls are going to be wanting to make sure the price stays above that 50 EMA. That being $26,885, whereas the bears are going to be looking to try to get that price closed down lower than that 50 EMA, so at 26,885. Now, the other concern that I have here is that we are finding ourselves in higher highs and higher lows, and these have a tendency to want to break on down. Now, there's a couple of different ways we can look at it. I'm going to take a look at it from this perspective just here, because it gives us a nice, neat kind of viewpoint on this one. If I may just zoom in here for a second, you can see here that we have higher highs and higher lows, okay, on our BTC weekly chart, and this is obviously consistent with the daily as well. And this does have a tendency to want to break on down, whereas the opposite is true. If we have lower highs and lower lows, these have a tendency to want to break on upwards, okay? And so you can see here we had that situation playing out. We broke up. We've had this situation. We broke up. Now, of course, the opposite is true, where we were in higher highs and higher lows. We will be looking for this break to the downside, okay? So I am a little bit cautious and a little bit nervous on the weekly chart. Even though we might have a few more weeks of positive price action, essentially here I'm looking at this thinking things are not looking so strong. We can also draw a trend line on our stochastic RSI here. We draw that in here. You can see that this is upper area of resistance that we've hit a couple of times, and we're coming up to that right now as well. So we may get a positive close position this week and possibly even next week. But after that, I'm thinking we are probably going to be looking for downward turn, where we are potentially going to be looking for a move to the downside. We can also see, though, there's a potential for a golden cross right here. Happening probably by the week's close. This is the 50 SMA crossing above the 200 EMA. Again, golden cross is a positive move. So depending on whether this gets picked up by the media or not, as for whether or not there's going to be a lot of FOMO activity around the golden cross situation going on here for BTC. Ultimately, though, all it's really showing you is what's already happened. So short-term price action is going to be going higher than long-term price action. This isn't anything unusual or scary or anything more than what's already occurred. However, when it gets spun by crypto media and things like that, sometimes you do see a positive outlook on this, as in a lot of FOMO activity, people buying up because they believe the price is going up. We've got a golden cross. The last time this happened, it was so bullish, etc., right? And for the most part, ultimately it's only showing you what's happened. Sometimes these crosses, actually you see the opposite. For example, right over here, you can see a death cross, right? The 50 SMA going down lower than the 200 EMA, and yet of course that negative price action was seen as a positive movement. Okay, and this is because it was not picked up on the media and wasn't mass panic around this area here. Okay, you saw the little flash wick down and then a rally to the upside. The same can happen over here. You may see a flash move up, only then to come crashing all the way back down. Okay, so although a cross here is seen as a positive movement, in the same way that this is seen as a negative movement, sometimes it doesn't quite play out as you would expect it to. Okay, so just kind of bear that in mind. So lots of things to kind of be thinking about. Ultimately, we find ourselves in a probably potentially highly volatile market today, specifically with the bulls and the bears fighting out for control over the market for next week. It's all to play for. Essentially, a key level of support resistance being 26,886. That's the one up for play. Close below it and the bears will gain control for next week. Close above it and the bulls will still remain in control for another week. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below, but I'm going to wrap this video up right there. If you have found it useful and informative, smash that like button. button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.